Welcome into live coverage of the 24th running of the Tour of Magnificent Quinhai here in northwestern China, where riders must be comfortable with their head above the clouds, as it is arguably one of the highest stage races anywhere in the world. Stage 3 was the longest stage of the tour. It saw the riders leave the beautiful town of Hushu, and ultimately we'd end up finishing in the town of Menyuan. Early on, it would be Simon Pelot, the Swiss rider from Li Ning Star, who would be joined by New Zealander George Jackson from Burgos, who would get out to a 3.5-minute lead, a lead that they would hold for almost the entire duration of the stage. The yellow jersey, well, that was on the shoulder of Guillermo Silva from Caja Rural, and it was their responsibility to do the chasing. Eventually, George Jackson would get to about the 140k mark and wave the white flag. His day was done. Guillermo Silva looking pretty comfortable throughout the entire day, as he did on stage 2, when he would go on and win the stage and put himself into the yellow jersey. Simon Pelot, well, he was in the King of the Mountains jersey for Li Ning Star at the start of the day, and throughout the entire stage he would pick up the maximum King of the Mountain points, ensuring that today he would still be wearing the polka dot jersey. Helon Mulubrak, the African Continental Champion, riding for Astana, the man who won this tour 2 years ago, is still poised, is still set. The minimal sprint stages on the course, it was David Baldacchini, but when it came down to ultimately the sprint finish, it would be a remarkable day for Li Ning Star. Alexander Selby picking up the victory over Manuel Penieva and Cameron Scott of the Cachet Body Wrap team, the young Australian, meaning that Manuel Penieva would retain the green sprinter's jersey heading into today's stage. Alexander Selby, the stage victory. Guillermo Silva would retain the yellow jersey, and King of the Mountains, deservedly so, would sit on the shoulders of Simon Pelot. So 5.5 hours they were in the saddle, 220 kilometres, at points reaching well over 11,000 feet. So the scene is set for today's stage. Town of Menyuan, wonderful hosts, acknowledging all the riders as they go through their customary sign-in process. And there he is, Manuel Penieva, winner of stage 1, second, stage 3, wearer of the Sprint Ace jersey. Li Ning Star, a Chinese trade team, full of internationals, but very much adopted by the locals as a Chinese team. Equipo Kerner Farmer, an all green signing in, and then it is the Caja Rural Sugaros team, who are just stacked full of climbers and will be incredibly hard to beat. The man leading the Asian blue jersey is Hassan, in fact Saeed Savradeh, the man from Iran. The Astana team, well, they come here with a big reputation. Can they find a way today of getting one over Caja Rural and possibly putting Henok Mulubran into the yellow jersey? They're a team stacked with the likes of Aaron Gate and the likes of the great Martin Lopez. This is what awaits them. It is the most stunning town, the city of Chilean. .22 trade teams, around 140 riders on the start line today. The tour started with 154, but there have been a number of withdrawals due to a number of crashes. As we look at Manuel Penieva in the green jersey, he'll be looking for another victory today. Historically, this ends up being a bit of a bunch sprint. Saeed Savradeh from Hyundai Hotel Guillermo Silva. The responsibility of Kaha Rural to protect him. He was second in the Tour last year. Can Kaha Rural go back to back? Simon Pelot, well, out for so much of stage 2 and out for almost the entire stage yesterday, deservedly wearing the King of the Mountain jersey. Early on, as always, at the start of most stages, a group of riders looking to try and establish an initial break. First sprint stage of the day, around about 37 kilometres, so those trying to gain valuable sprint ace points at a UCI level and also ultimately to try and challenge Manuel Panielva for the green jersey. First sprint stage at 37 kilometres. Small group of riders initially trying to get into a break. And here he is, winner of stage 1, Manuel Panielva, the Italian, riding for his Team Polti Visit Malta team. So Guillermo Silva has a 6-second lead over Casido Cepeda, who finished second on stage 2. There's this magnificent Qinghai region, the helicopter flyover, the magnificent yellow rapeseed, which cover so much of these wonderful valleys up here in the Tibetan Plateau. And so a look at today's stage. Total of 172.5 kilometres from the city of Menyuan. Initially, well, it's just a general uphill grind. Average gradient of around about 3 to 4%, no higher. However, they get above 12,000 feet when they reach the top of Jingyangling Mountain, which sits at 3,750 metres. Once having reached that, well, it's pretty much a run downhill. It's very much a stage of two halves. The first half uphill, the second half predominantly downhill. A niggly little climb that comes at around the 155k mark, which could provide an opportunity for somebody to attack. But really, it is a run through to the finish in the stunning, stunning town of Chilian, where a large crowd waits. The weather is absolutely magnificent, and it will absolutely blow the minds of the riders once they do get a chance to sit back and reflect on what will be another tough day, where the riders will have to be comfortable with their head above the clouds. And this is the countryside of the magnificent Qinghai region of northwestern China. There is a group of 3